Is that how you say your last name?
Yeah, that's the proper pronunciation. That's for sure. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, today I'm gonna talk about productivity, intentional living, minimalism. So Anthony is the creator, or he produces content for Break the Twitch, which is a YouTube channel and also a blog, and he's now coming out with his new book, also entitled Break the Twitch, and he talks about these things that we're gonna cover today. So Anthony, welcome, and why don't you like a small introduction about what you do and why you're here?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. The most of my work that I do encapsulates sort of the idea of intentionally connected living. So, living in a way that is in balance with the technology in our lives, with the creativity in our lives, allowing us to really create the best things that we can and consume in a way that really allows us to balance that effectively. So that's a kind of a mouthful, but really I talk about intentional living with minimalism, habits, and creativity as sort of the lens of that topic.
So as a mindset to look at the world and just see what we can do with regarding creating all the way until the things that we consume in terms of content and also what we buy and we put in our house. And you recently moved, so it was easy to move if you have less stuff.
Right. It definitely helps. And there's also nothing like having to shift your living situation a bit to get you to really make some hard decisions about what is really helpful in your life and what isn't. So yeah, all of the above.
So in terms of breaking the Twitch, that's a very I understand it now because I consume your content, but for those who don't really know, what do you consider a Twitch?
Yeah, so the Twitch, as I define it, is an unintentional, unproductive response to discomfort. So essentially, we have these little things that we do that are a quick way to solve a certain level of discomfort we feel in our lives. And modern technology has provided us with a lot of new ways to do this that are very easily accessible. So in a moment of loneliness, we can immediately pull out our phone and text someone. Or in a moment of boredom, we can pull up our phone and watch YouTube right away. All of those things are sort of forms of discomfort. And so I kind of have a blanket statement over the idea of discomfort. It can be social anxiety. It can be hunger. It can just be boredom. It can be any of the things, even desire, wanting something. These are all just forms of things that sort of drive us in different ways. And the Twitch is essentially, again, an unproductive, impulsive response to that discomfort. So it's a quick solution. It feels like a fix. It feels good in the moment, but it's not really doing anything. You're not actually creating anything. You're not solving a problem. You're just sort of carrying it along in little bursts as you go. So the Twitch can look like buying stuff on Amazon more than you should, or more than is good for what you want. It's the little things like scrolling through social media and having it be 20, 30 minutes later and you feel worse instead of better, but for some reason we keep doing it. So that's sort of this idea of the Twitch, the little things we do that kind of pull us away from what we're trying to focus on, what we're trying to actually do with our lives.
Yeah, I totally relate to that. When I discovered your YouTube channel, it was really helpful for me to really identify that and see this as a Twitch, because I grew up on the internet and it's kind of normal to surf the web and just watch YouTube videos and all of that. But now that I want to actually produce stuff, for example, Grow Delta that I'm trying to grow, it's kind of on my way. It served me before because I was able to learn about video editing and about the YouTube and everything. And now, for example, I started trying to figure out those Twitches. So how many Twitches do I have in a day? And it's it's like around in my bad days around like 20 of these small impulses. So what do you think technology amplified this, or it was always present? This
That's a great question. So 20 isn't too bad, honestly. If you've had 20, you're counting kind of 20 twitches. I mean, I think that one of the most important things in breaking the twitch is the idea of awareness, simply being aware of like, it's happening again, But the fundamental kind of truth is that we now exist in a world that is being designed to be addictive from the core of its product roadmap. So Twitter, Facebook, Amazon, all of these things would not be competitive if they were not addictive. And so I absolutely believe that technology in its current state is making it more difficult to focus, to hold your attention. And I think that the current state of things is sort of reprogramming our brains to not be able to focus and stay on tasks that are difficult, like writing, like video, like the things that actually take more than a few minutes of effort to produce something of value. Anyone can write a tweet pretty quick, but it's harder to write a blog post that explores the thing, and even longer, it's harder to write a book, and from there, it's harder to write a series. All these things are becoming more and more challenging because our attention is being hijacked in many, many ways.
Yeah, I was reading the Deep Work by Carl Newport, and he talks about that a lot. And like Carl Jung had a tower just to go and write without any technology or even electricity, and he would be able to focus because he didn't have the distractions. Of course, he didn't have Twitter, but he didn't have the distractions of other people seeking his attention. It's a big challenge, especially probably for us too. We are producing digital content, and we do need to be online to do a lot of our work. So how do you manage that, especially writing your book? I'm sure it was quite a big challenge. I don't know how much do you still struggle with the Twitch?
Yeah, every day, all the time. It is a constant seesaw of balancing my life as I interact with the digital world, as I interact with my own creativity. And it's a constant exploration of what are the things that I want in my life, what do I not? And same thing goes for minimalism, for habits, for the things that I do every day and for the things that I don't do every day. That's just what it is. I mean, I don't think necessarily the Twitch ever goes away. You can go to your castle in the dark with no electricity and have a candle and a piece of paper and a pen. Sure, and that's an ideal circumstance, but there are certain elements of the digital world that we don't have to participate in, but that are simply a part of our modern lives. So I think what's really important is to simply find balance by taking a retreat, so stepping away from it as much as possible, assessing what role it plays in our lives, what place it holds, and then coming back to it in a balanced way. And that's why I do a Facebook sabbatical every 3 months. I take at least a week or two completely off, deactivated account, and step back from it, because that's the biggest problem. We go to these things out of habit because it feels good in a moment of loneliness, in a moment of just boredom, whatever. You're sitting there at a traffic light, quickly pull up, see if you have any text messages. But we're doing that because that's what we did last time. We're not doing it because that's what we're most interested in that moment. It's literally just a programmed movement the Twitch, it's a physical movement that our brain just short circuits. So that's kind of the essence of this is, I think, I don't know if I've gone off track of your question now, but
that's okay.
But the essence of this is we need to step back so that we can assess and find the balance. So I think you asked in my own life, how do I do this? And one way that this has taken hold is that I use computers a lot. So I use computers to write my content. I use computers to edit my video content, same kind of stuff that you're doing. And I realized that there is no reason that I needed to have social media or my email on my phone, because one, it was distracting me during the in-between moments of the day, and it would pull me away, and I'd maybe check one email or two emails at a time, and that's horribly inefficient. But two, I realized that with the Twitch, if you have, I've got it right here, like if you have this in your pocket all the time or next to you, near you all the time, it's a bad example because it's right near me right now, but it just becomes, it's like take your favorite, exactly.
Always present.
Take your favorite food, right? Take your favorite food and like put it all around you. And then someone comes up with like a better, healthier option that might take some effort to prepare. They're like, hey, got groceries. Let's make some dinner. Let's make something. And you're like, well, I have all this food around me, even though it's not, it's not like the same. It's just easy. And that might not be the best analogy, but we have to just find the balance of these things in our lives. That's the main point. And we can't do it while we're in it. That's the biggest takeaway I've had from a lot of this stuff.
I also did your digital detox that you have, and one of the biggest things that really helped me was to disable the notifications on my phone, because I noticed that I check Instagram because I see the notifications constantly, and then it becomes an habit. And I noticed that if I turn those off, I kind of tend to forget about Instagram because that reminder is not there. And it was really, really powerful, and just shows that our brain just keeps doing the things that we are triggered. And if we remove those triggers, it's kind of, it's massive, but it's still not enough. And do you substitute, for example, if you are in traffic and you are constantly, or when you are stopped in traffic and you don't have anything to do, when you have that twitch, that impulse to check your phone, do you then do something else to counteract that habit, or do you just suppress it and just don't do anything?
So I find myself not having to suppress it when I'm not at home, because my phone is incredibly boring now. So it's hilarious because I've deleted all the social media apps from my phone, and I've deleted my email from my phone. I even had a friend use a pin to block my browser. So I can't even go to facebook.com if I wanted to. Because what could possibly be so, here's my deal is like, what could possibly be so urgent that someone wouldn't maybe just text me about if I really needed to know and it was urgent that they reach me, right? There's a million different ways. And I started thinking about this, and it's like, I'm on a computer all day doing work where I can check my email in batches, where I can use this stuff in the full format. Why do I need to be checking? Like, why do I need to have it on me all the time? And that was one of the biggest fundamental changes. Instagram, I kind of don't use it anymore because I deleted it from my phone, and you can't use it anywhere else, right? You can't like go on the computer and upload stuff. I will say that is probably one of the most important changes. I took Netflix off my phone. I took YouTube off my phone, even being a YouTuber. Because what I would do is I would get rid of Twitter. I got rid of Twitter, got rid of Facebook, and then all of a sudden I would go to the YouTube analytics, and that would be my Twitch then. So I'd go to the YouTube analytics and check to see the traffic, see if there were new comments. Yeah. And then I found myself just pulling out my phone, looking for some new information, something new. So Aziz Ansari said this really well, the actor and comedian. He's like, we're addicted to the new. It's not what it is. We don't care about what it is. We just want to see something new, a new comment, a new statistic, a new analytics thing. We want to see that a video got some more views this week or whatever. And so I took it all off. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's really practical. It's really like, I like being able to knock out a few emails when I'm standing in line at the grocery store. But then that same person 5 minutes later will be like, man, I'm like trying to date people on Tinder, and I'm not having any luck. I'm not meeting new people. And they're literally being like, well, I'm sucking up all my moments standing in line at the grocery store when a certain amount of serendipity happens. When you're out in the world, like doing things, that's how people used to meet, So I hear this stuff and it's just like, well, maybe it's not that efficient. Maybe it's not actually serving us all that well. Yeah. It's like, I think Cal Newport, right? Mm-hmm. Deep Work. He gave this example in his TED Talk, and I think it's a brilliant example. It's like you go to the casino and you play the slots and you kind of get hooked on it a little bit. You run out of money, you bust, and you leave. And then you're done. You go home. That doesn't mean that there aren't other, addictive things at home, but the point is, like, you go to the casino, you pull the slots, and it messes with your psychology a little. Mm. But we are taking that same process, that same psychology of the variable rewards, the things that keep our brain wanting to know if there is a notification there. So we check. And we're putting it in our pocket, and it's with us 24 hours a day. Yeah. We're just not wired for it. So that's this fundamental question, I think, is like, at what point are we going to decide? At what point are we going to decide what role new technologies are going to play in our life? Because if we're willing to take on a new voice control technology like Alexa, Amazon's Alexa, or the Echo, right, is the product. And sure, it's convenient because you can go, Alexa, living room off, and it'll turn off the lights for you. But at what point is it actually good for us to get up and move and go turn off the light switch? Right? And then the back end of that is, sure, it feels convenient. It feels nice to be able to voice control, order brownies as you're walking through your kitchen. Alexa, order brownies. And it's delivered 2 hours later. That level of convenience sounds really good. It feels easy, low barriers. But again, is it worth the trade that Amazon is listening to everything we say and finding better ways to sell us stuff on the flip side? What price are we willing to pay for convenience? And I think that's one of the fundamental questions of all of this as well.
It's just getting easier and easier to get what our brain really wants to. It's like instant gratification and no work, and just going back to like the scientific of like, it wants to be at zero level. So it'll be more and more easy to just sit on the couch and not do anything. And for social media, I really feel like a constant struggle, because as being a content creator, I want to reach as many people as I want, and it kind of gets, I start thinking too much about it. Like I should be on this thing, on Twitter, on Instagram, and I want to be all over the place. And then it becomes also because I do feel and understand what you're saying, like what's the point? I'm not gonna change anything with my content just by checking Twitter all the time or Instagram. But then it's like that's it's the brain messing with us. That's okay, you should check that, but because a notification will change all of this and you will blow up or something like that. But it's a trap, and it's a very difficult trap to get out of, and that's my current struggle now. It's breaking the Twitch, and really wanted to check with you. What can I do? Yeah.
Well, as a very direct answer to that question, there are two things you can do. And I actually just gave a TED Talk about this, which is coming out in November. So there are two things that you need to think about and literally just do to break the Twitch. And there's sure, it gets easier the more space you create between you and Instagram notifications. As you remove the triggers from your life, it gets easier to not constantly be drawn to them, but it's also a daily practice. I think that's one of the biggest things with this stuff is that people think it's like, oh, how do I just break? No, it's like a lifetime practice of balancing what we want in our lives, what serves us and the people we love, and what does not serve us and the people we love, and how those things play in our lives on a daily basis, and figuring this out. So to break the twitch, there are two things you need to do. One, we already talked about. One is just notice. Like you said, you noticed yourself, you kind of notched the number of times you felt yourself going to Instagram or checking a thing, email, whatever it is. And so it's a level of awareness to see what's going on. Because I think I just read this statistic that I think it was a 2015 study, but that people are checking their phones upwards of 60 times a day. Millennials, which I'm a millennial, up to 150 times per day.
Yet 150.
150 times per day of checking, just little things. And if you divide that out amongst the day, there are only the waking hours, right? So, let's say 16 hours in a day, you get a sense that there are very few uninterrupted periods of time in that space, right? It's something like once every 15 minutes. And so, yet the same group, right, millennials, again, which I'm a part of, I don't even like that word, but it's just it's a quick way to refer to the general age range. The same group is saying that we have a healthy relationship with technology. So it's like, really, do we really? Is this actually going on, or is it so built in at this point that we think that this is the new normal, right? So it's a level of awareness, and that's the first thing. Notice, don't feel shame, again, because this is built to be this way. It's built to be incredibly addicting. The second thing, once you start to notice, is build something that I call intentional friction. So companies have figured out that it's easier to reduce the effort required than to increase your motivation. So instead of doing emotionally appealing ads, they're doing that too, but instead of entirely relying on ads that motivate you to buy their product, Amazon, for an example, has made it as easy as possible to buy the product. Soon, like your coffee maker will order replacement coffee cups when it runs out automatically without you even being a part of the process. Amazon is working in every way possible to reduce the effort required so that it's a quick twitch without having to, right? Yeah. So where companies remove let's just say other people, not even just companies, where other people work to remove the friction from the things they want you to do, you have to put intentional friction back in. So that means, for me, that meant deleting all of the apps off of my phone. So it's really boring. I've made it difficult for me I have to really work hard. I'd have to maybe borrow someone's phone and open their browser and log into my Facebook account if I wanted to do it.
It's way too much work.
Difficult, exactly. And so it's really, unfortunately, up to us to fight back against this erosion of the attention marketplace, because our